Hi and welcome to NLP Upscale Life, another episode, of first one of 2024. So it's great to be back again, guys. Myself, Mark, Finton, and Katrina. Hope you're all doing okay.
All good,
All
yeah.
ready to great after Christmas, yeah, and the new
Yeah,
year raring to go,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All fired up, rare to go, as to say.
That's right.
as they say. Rewired. We're all rewired, aren't we?
Yeah,
We're all wired to the moon, I think, tonight. There
yeah.
isn't a full moon or
Media
something tonight,
approved.
is there?
Huh?
There isn't a full moon tonight, is there?
No, there's one at the weekend though, coming up.
The weekend.
All right, fair enough. Something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Clearing old stuff and letting in new stuff.
Yeah. So it was
Yeah,
great. It was
And
great.
that's not what I was thinking.
It was great to welcome you on the podcast. Katrina, the first one last, the last one of last year was great to welcome you on, wasn't it,
thank
Finton?
you very much
Yeah, great to have you here.
Yeah, I'll be here.
for your sins.
And that's all. That's all. I know you're doing great. We're loving having you here. To be honest, with you, a great balance to our energy.
Yeah,
The yin and the
definitely.
yang and all that sort of thing. So happy
God,
days.
put manners on both of you, mean. Put the balance in there.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I hear you.
we we were going to start off the podcast and we were with our words, the first words of 2024 for the podcast. So my one is ruin, Oswelga ruin. So it's resolution. It's a big word for the new year.
Very
And
good.
lots of people use it, yeah. It's a great word.
Yeah,
And my word is actually rewire, which in Oscailga is athrangu.
Very good.
nice. Yeah,
And mine is practice. You just clocked it.
nice.
I
So they're
suppose
all very positive words for the new year starting off.
absolutely. I suppose we could kind of spend a minute and just talk about what the words mean to us and to other
Mm,
what they might mean to other people.
great
I
idea.
suppose if
Mhm.
we start with resolution, what does it mean to you, Mark?
Well, it starts off with a new start and a good start to and it doesn't have to be New Year. It can be any time of the year, not just January 1st. You can make change and resolution any time by changing different things, make replacing bad habits with good habits, and be it like fitness or healthy eating or anything that you'd like to change can be changed any month or any day of the year. So I think that's what resolution me means.
Yeah, I was just thinking actually, it comes from the word resolve. So often we resolve to do something new, but also we resolve a problem. If we have a problem and it gets resolved for us, then we
Yeah.
have a satisfactory resolution.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
So it could also be taken that way as well. So maybe if you have something that is on your mind or has been on your mind, maybe something that you had in 2023, do you want to leave behind?
Hmm.
Something that you want to see resolved, get some sort of resolution to it.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a lovely way of looking at it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, my word, as I said, was rewire. And for me, um, what that means for me moving forward for this year is I've had the opportunity of sitting still due to a health issue for the past 3 months. And it gave me an opportunity to reflect and to look at my own personal perception and um, from that, my behavior. And I suppose moving forward this year, I'd like to rewire with the NLP and change some of uh, my perceptions, my actions, moving forward into a better, healthier, more proactive space for this year. So while the 3 months of sitting still is challenging in its own way, it's brought up a lot of personal space to decide what the areas in my life that I'd like to rewire and how to work on that moving forward. So it was quite a personal journey. That word for me moving forward this year into 2024 is to rewire and to empower. for
Awesome.
more positive. Mm.
Really good. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And I suppose the thing about it is, if there's one thing I've always associated NLP with, is rewiring the brain,
Mhm.
building new neural pathways.
Yeah.
And I suppose you've had a good chance to build lots of new neural pathways in your healing journey in terms of and that. And I suppose it's something that as we learn, as we go through the year and learn, uh, we're always building new neural pathways and closing off old, less useful ones as well.
Yeah.
So
And it's giving
rewiring the
yourself
brain.
permission to do that too. A lot of people, we don't give ourselves permission to close doors and allow new energy in and move ourselves forward. We hold ourselves stuck in patterns of belief systems and behavior. So as you said, rewiring the brain with the NLP and our perceptions is vital to grow and change and move with the change.
Yeah, awesome. NLP is about neuro linguistic programming. Basically, what happens in our brain is wired in a specific way, and we make neural connections. So there's so basically the brain is all the different parts of the brain are connected up depending on what it is that we want to do or what it is we have done. So as we learn, we create new pathways, little lines between one part of the brain to the next. And what that does is it allows us to be more efficient. So for example, if you see a door and you learn how to open the door, then what happens is you remember that your brain that gets wired into your brain. So the first time you do it, you're very awkward doing it because you've never done it before.
Mhm.
The second time, you have a bit of a neural pathway there. So your brain recognizes, oh, I've seen this pattern before. I've done this before. So it does it again. And maybe you're not as good, or maybe, but you do it a little bit better until eventually it just becomes so automatic that the neural pathway is deeply ingrained. And the problem is that we've deeply ingrained a lot of things in our minds, good stuff and bad stuff, to make ourselves more efficient. So most of the time, we don't even think about a lot of the stuff we do. Even at this point, driving the car, you get in the car, you don't even think about it. Next thing you're 120 kilometers down the road, pulling up into your dad's house in Dublin or wherever it might happen to be, you know, and that's it. So it's been done so many times that at this stage, I don't even have to think about it, you know. So that's a whole series of neural pathways that you're not even considering. Unfortunately, sometimes neural pathways have bad stuff attached to them. Like, so you see something, maybe as a child, you get a fright and that stays with you. And you run the same program over and over and over again. And what NLP tries to do is to shut off that neural pathway because it's not really serving you very well. Create a new neural pathway where you take have a better response to the same trigger.
And you're rewiring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Very good. That's great. Thanks, Fintan. No, just
All right.
people listening, you know.
Well
Just
done.
Yeah.
haven't heard it before, yeah.
And I
Didn't mean to put
suppose
you on the
my
spot
own
there.
word was practice.
Yeah.
Clock to.
Clock to.
And the thing about it is that I suppose we're always learning new stuff all the time. And it's only through practicing it that we actually get to master it. So we can learn something today, and hopefully everybody will learn something tonight, particularly the three of us. And we'll all learn stuff, but it's in the practice of it that we master it. And that's what my thing is. And practicing on things on a daily basis. If something is important to you, you'll do it every day. And the stuff that is important to us, we do every day, such as, you know, going to bed, getting up out of bed, going to work, things like that, eating. We do them every day. It's very rarely we miss a day where we're eating, you know. We forget to eat on the day because we didn't have time or whatever.
Mhm.
So I suppose the things that are important to us, we do practice on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, that's great because even something I heard before, repetition is the mother of all skill. You know, by repeating stuff all the time, you're gonna get better. Like, you know, no matter what you're
Yeah.
doing, be it playing a sport or whatever it is, like repetition and it's a key with it.
Yeah, and I've often heard too, if you don't use it, you lose it, which
Mhm.
is the opposite of You know, it really is about building that consistency
Mm-hmm.
of whatever we're doing to
Yeah,
create that pattern, a neural pathway in the brain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Yeah, no. Well,
awesome.
yeah. And then you get your resolutions all ready to go.
Well, that's it, exactly. Well, you can resolve
Yeah, resolve. Yeah,
what it is
any
that you
issues.
want to practice, what these new practices are
Yeah,
that will rewire your brain for 2024.
very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's great. Them three words came in. We'll probably use them again towards the end of the podcast. Probably get them in there somewhere else.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, yeah. And so tonight we're going to talk around anchoring, and we might just give a small demonstration towards the end. But I think a perfect way that you mentioned later on before we got on, Finton, was the tapping, how we could do the tapping and then bring the anchor into it, which is a really useful thing. I was only helping a girl, a friend I used to work with last night, who was having problems where she couldn't get motivated, and she's probably listening tonight. So hope you're doing well, Louise. And I basically sent her a video of tapping, and at the end of it, to reinforce it by putting her, like, I can't remember the name of the thing, but if you tap here with all reassuring things, can really be a game changer. Like after you've got rid of the actual bad feeling or whatever the case may be. So I think the tapping would be a great place to start.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Uh, let's have a look. Oh, well, normally what we do is we do the 6 point tapping.
Yeah,
So I suppose we can run through that. And what the 6 point tapping does is it clears negative feelings, and you can use this for absolutely anything. The story I always tell with this is I came across this. I had an awful issue with my leg, and it was giving me an awful lot of pain. So I came across this to get rid of the pain in the leg, and it was great. It started working, and I couldn't believe it because nothing else worked. So a friend of mine I said, we met him one day. I said, I haven't seen you out walking in a while. He said, oh, I've got this terrible pain in my foot. I can't walk. I went, oh God. So I showed him how to do the tapping. I says, you do that now before you go to bed. He says, I do it in the morning. I says, no, do it before you go to bed because it'll help you sleep. So anyway, the next day I met him. I said, so did you do the tapping? And he goes, oh yeah. He says, I couldn't believe it. I did it for ages last night. I just kept tapping and tapping and tapping. And I had the best night's sleep ever. And I says, did the pain in your foot go away? He says, no, but I lost all my anxiety. So whatever the thing that your body says you need most is what this will act on first. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the
So
six.
go on.
The
I
six
was just going
points.
to say,
Yeah. Sorry, Katrina. Go on ahead.
so
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you're working on, while working on the tapping, you're also working on the meridian lines in the body
That's exactly it. Yeah. That's
and
what
the
it will come
nervous
down.
system. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically, how I describe it is tapping directly into your nervous system.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what
Well,
I do.
well,
Yeah, go on.
no, I was just going to say it's emotional freedom technique is what actually the tapping is, where it releases an emotion and then we replace it with a better feeling emotion.
yeah,
So when you're doing the demonstrate of the tapping, we can see that progress of starting out with an emotion and then ending up with something different. Like your friend, he started out with pain and the anxiety, he ended up with a different feeling at the end of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's very
So,
powerful.
Like there's a really
do
good.
you want to lead us through that, Katrina?
The tapping,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
can I just mention something
Sure,
for a
why not?
second? Um,
Yeah,
I like the way I used it there yesterday when I done the thing was, when I helped my friend I used to work with, I basically got her to feel the feeling in her body. How bad she could make it feel now. Where just say it was not procrastination. Sorry, it was like it was lack of motivation. So I basically got her to say, okay, really feel it and how bad you can feel that lack of motivation now, and give it a number out of 10. The subjective units of distress, like try and make it as bad as you can in your body, and then by writing that number down is so important to get a number down, and then go through the 7 point tapping, and then that can get it down to zero. Always zero it down. So that was the advice I gave to her, and it really worked for her, you know. So she found it great.
Well, sure, then you do that. You show us that. You show us that one then.
Yeah, and
As you showed her how to do it yesterday.
yeah, well, yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, grand. Okay.
Go on.
All right. So basically, what I started off was to say, like, we can all do it now. Think of something that body's not a not a big thing, but just something small that that's affecting you. Like, could have been something that happened earlier on or whatever it was, you know. So then just think of it, and really feel it in your body, like feel it in your system, and and then give it a number out of 10 how bad you can make it now. Okay, so we've all got that now, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got that.
So
Yeah.
so you just think of yourself what number, and what way could you make it? Just say it's 8 or 9. Can you make it any higher than that? Like, as if it's happening now. Okay, so whatever number you have, and then so whatever it is, so just say it's about a kind of a bit of an argument you had earlier on. So you could say tap stop it, start tapping on the top of your head about 10 times. It was an argument, let it go. Or you say whatever is bothering you, let it go. Then forehead, it was an argument, let it go. Then the outside of the eye, it was an argument, let it go. Then under the eye, it was an argument, let it go. Then the collarbone, left center, was an argument, let it go. And then grab or tap the wrist, it was an argument, let it go. And deeper in and out, and say peace. And then you give it a number again, and whatever that number is, then you tap that off again. So mine's gone down to about 6. Okay, so we tap that out again. It was an argument, let it go. It was an argument, let it go. Outside of the eye, it was an argument, let it go. It was an argument, let it go. Argument, let it go. Wrist, it was an argument, let it go. Deep breath in, out, and peace. So then again, get the number for yourself, like whatever the number is, and then just if it, then always get it down to zero. And if you like, you know, if you're dealing with a friend or whatever it is, even you say to them, if you even get it down to 1, would you be happy with that? I say, yeah, definitely 1's better than 8 or 9, and that can be really really powerful. So that's what I use.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to add to that, when I'm doing it, what I do is I when I started doing it first, obviously I was tapping the way we tapped it there, right? But now what I do is I imagine how it feels when I tap the crown of my head
Very good.
and my forehead and the side of my eyes and under my eye and the collarbone and my wrist. And what I do then is I can walk down the road, I can do that. If I'm in the gym lifting weights, I can do that. If I'm doing stretching, I can do that. Like if I was playing football there on Tuesday night, And whenever way I kicked the ball, I hurt my leg. I just stretched the muscle. It was obviously overstretched in the kick, and it was just sore. But I was able to tap it out without actually physically tapping, if you understand, just by visualizing what it feels like, imagining what it feels like to tap each one in turn, and it has the very same effect.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, because you're imagining what you're tapping.
Exactly.
Great stuff.
It's also good to let people know when you're doing it with people, even if they only get down to a 1 or a 2, as opposed to being an 8 or a 9, that the body sometimes holds on to that feeling for a reason, because initially it could have been there to keep you safe, even though the actual behavior mightn't have been a positive practice for you, but underlying that practice is a good intention. So a lot of the time the body holds on to a little bit of it because it feels it's a safety mechanism. So it's also to let people know that it's safe for them to hold back and have that little bit of security there if they choose, if that's as far as the body wants to go with release and everything that needs to be released. And also what I would do as a holistic, energy therapist too, I would get them to, when they've cleared that feeling and they're feeling better, I would energetically and visually bring the energy down through the body and fill that space up energetically with where they've cleared it, so that you're also working on the energy field as well as working on the nervous system and the physical response that you've changed in your body from doing the tapping. That energetically you're bringing the energy down and you're filling it up with, say, white light, so that you know that feeling is, that area that you've cleared out energetically is now filled with white light, and therefore the old energy can't get back in. So it's an extra layer that you can bring in to work with energy, so that you're working on an energetic level as well. And I use that with clients when I'm working with people, just to reinforce.
Wow.
So you're working mind and energy.
Very strong. Yeah, great stuff. Very
Yeah.
strong. Yeah.
Good one. Yeah. I'll have to start using that then as well. See, there we go. A new practice for
There
me.
you go. There you are. There you are. We're rewiring you already.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Just had to,
yeah.
100%.
had to put me word in there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And
That's right.
I can ask you, Katrina, when you've done that, would you anchor that in some way for people to kind of, after you've done that light exercise to build a good energy afterwards? Would you find anchoring that in some way, would that help?
That can help, absolutely, yeah. You know yourself. I mean, a simple movement can be enough to anchor that
Yeah,
emotion in there. It doesn't have to be a big drama or anything else. It can be just something like clicking your fingers or
yeah,
having a pen and flicking the pen, or anything that you can anchor it with, something simple and fast that will cement that feeling of a better rewired feeling that you've put in its place, and holds it there. And and when you use the anchor, it just brings you straight into that space.
great stuff. Yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah. Anchoring it afterwards would be fabulous.
Yeah, brilliant. That sounds amazing. Because another way we've learned, Fintan, you probably show people, the way the meridian there,
Sure.
Yeah.
to give positive things instead of the place of whatever you're trying to change.
Yeah. So it's on the left hand, isn't it?
Left
And
hand.
It
it's
is, yeah.
the between the little finger and the one beside it.
Yeah,
It's a little channel there.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
just tap that. And what that is, that's your awesome meridian. I don't know what it's called. But basically, when you tap that, it gives you a very powerful, positive energy. So actually, if you want to try that now,
Yeah. I'm doing it here as we
and
speak.
what you can do is say things to yourself like, "Oh, this is absolutely amazing. This is going to be a great podcast. This is already a great podcast. you know, I'm going to have a great day. If you're doing it first thing in the morning, I'm going to have a great night's sleep tonight. If you're doing it in the evening, whatever it might be, you might be going into a meeting, you might be meeting a client, you might be not sure about what's going to happen next, but you go, oh, this is going to be absolutely amazing. And what it does is it draws all your most powerful resources to yourself. And then at the very end of it, you just go, awesome. And you anchor it to that finger there. You can see it clearer on Mark's, I think. And you go, awesome. And that's your awesome anchor.
Love that. That's cool, Mark, or Fintan. Calling you Mark there.
You
Fintan.
can actually feel the like electricity wave, isn't it? It's kind of like
Yeah.
that's what you feel. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really, really powerful. Yeah, really powerful.
So, of course, that brings us nicely into our next topic for the evening, which is anchoring.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that
It
we've
does.
anchored our tapping with our white light and with our awesome finger.
Yeah,
Yes.
great stuff. And I suppose, Katrina, when did you first discover anchoring, and what way have they helped you?
Well, if I'm being honest, I used a lot of all these techniques in the last 3 months, seeing that
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
fractured me back and I had a choice in how I chose to look at what happened to me. And while it was quite restricting, I chose to focus on being positive and anchoring that feeling of positiveness in my body. And I even pictured like using knitting needles to one of the visualizations I used was using knit needles to actually knit my bone together. And then anchored that feeling of when I had that feeling of, wow, everything, I was going in, talking to my body, telling her how amazing it was, what it felt like to have knitted the bones together, and then anchored, used the anchor, that tapping, to actually enhance that feeling of, wow, my body's so amazing. And I do honestly, genuinely feel that all that, my perception of choosing to look on being stopped for 3 months as a blessing with silver linings, as opposed to how would I put it? To me, the universe was stopping me for a reason. That's how I chose to look at it. It gave me time, as I said before, to sit and look and see what was working for me and what wasn't working for me. And to be honest with you, like even down to doing working with you, I would have been too busy to have said yes if where I was in my life beforehand. So everything happens at the right time for a reason. So I chose to focus on that as opposed to where I could have gone with it. I used the anchors to keep me in that state every day. And genuinely, I think I had 2 bad days out of 3 months. That's the truth. It's amazing how going inwards can make you very self-aware and motivated and looking forward, as opposed to staying stuck in the past. It gave me a whole different perspective. So all this anchoring and this rewiring of the brain definitely on a personal level has made such a difference to me in the last 3 months. So I can only say, I can speak with honesty and say it is all this work that we do in helping people is extremely powerful, and we are so powerful in ourselves and we don't even know it. And as I said, the anchors is an easy way. I found once you find the anchor that works for you, it's an easy way of staying focused, because it's very easy to come out and New Year's resolutions, let's start this, let's start that, and how many of us fall off very quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas with the anchoring and the tapping, it keeps you more focused. it keeps you rewiring that thought process in the brain and keeps you in that state. And it's all about changing our state, isn't it? From where we're at to where we'd like to be and where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So the anchoring and the rewiring is extremely powerful
Absolutely.
and has been for me on a personal level.
Pretty powerful, yeah.
Very good. That's great, Katrina. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks for joining. That's great.
I suppose from my own point of view, as regards anchoring, I suppose I noticed it years ago, but I didn't know it was called anchoring. When I was a kid, and I remember I was walking up the road, and I smelled fresh grass being cut, and it brought me back to a time years beforehand when I'd had my own grass cutting business, when I was a teenager or whatever, So I was kind of like an older teenager at that stage, maybe 19, 20, whatever it was. And when I was like 14, 15, I had a grass cutting business. And just a simple thing like a smell brought me back the whole way. And obviously that smell had been anchored. It was a really nice feeling, It was kind of like, yeah, spring is here or summer is here. And of course, back then you had 3 months holidays. You were off for the summer, and that's what you did, cut a lot of grass for the summer. But it also reminded me like of ice cream. It reminded me of lots of summery things, and it just kind of made me feel much better. Just all of a sudden, for no real reason. But of course, now since I studied NLP, I understand that I had obviously anchored that smell to those experiences.
That's cool.
Yeah, I probably passed you with my lawnmower because I used to do the same thing, Fintan.
Probably, yeah.
But no, it's funny you should say that, Fintan, because the first time I discovered anchoring was before I did NLP or like that. I was out running with a friend of mine, and he said, "You look like you're struggling there," and he says, "Yeah, I am a bit." He says, "Just hold your finger and your thumb together, and just relax yourself." And lo and behold, it totally relaxed me. And then learning NLP, I know what it is now, but at the time, it really helped, for to relax. He said, "Relax and just hold your finger and your thumb together." And right enough, he was using NLP and didn't even know he was doing it.
Yeah.
The body's a very smart thing, isn't it? And the mind, even when we're not consciously aware of it, we're very smart, very we have so much wisdom inside of us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
That's right.
That's right.
yeah. And
As Pat Short would say.
That's
yeah,
right.
exactly. And you can use it for anything really. Like I know Richard Bandler says you can change anything with anchors. He said that before, and he's pretty much right because if you're having, just say you can use it for, if you've got a phobia, you can use it for, or if you're feeling bad about going for an interview, or it's a multitude of stuff you can use it on. And then it's about, when you're anchoring, you have to anchor at the peak state. Like when you're, just say you've got like something you want to forget, and you push it down there for a minute, and then get into an empowerment state, and you think about your best day. You're out on your holiday, you're in a holiday, a lovely holiday, and you can anchor that and remember that, like really, see it and feel it and hear it as if it's happening now, and then anchor that, and then and really kind of feel it, and then when you're feeling it at the top, then release the anchor, and then take a deep breath, and out, and then just break state, and then you can build another anchor onto that, and another anchor onto that, and then when you build all these good anchors, you can just push them all onto that anchor, and it's gone. Like, it's such a powerful technique.
Very good. Yeah, and actually, if you remember last week, just to go back to the word practice,
Yeah.
when we were practicing, you were showing me how to do the circle of excellence.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found that very, very useful because it's actually something I practice myself, and actually that's my circle of excellence finger. So it's the awesome finger on my right hand as opposed to the awesome finger on my left hand.
Very good.
Basically, but yeah, and it's a great way of stacking anchors.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe if you want to try it with Katrina there,
What we might do is I'll do it on the both of yous, so you can both get get satisfaction from it. How's that sound?
Yeah,
sounds
sounds
good. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Well, okay. So we'll start off. Okay, so imagine a circle in front of you, for a moment. Okay, as a starting
Okay.
point, for the circle of excellence, and in your mind, just imagine what kind of circle is it? Does it have a shape or a color? So just give me a nod when you've imagined that circle, please.
Mhm.
Now, what's the first state you would like to have in that circle? When you have it, guys, just give me a nod again. And when you're like this, you're like what? What is your breathing like? How is the weight in your body when you're in this state? Anything else about you when you're like this? So, as you think about that, I'd like you to step in to that circle and let it rise up around you. That's right. So when you're like this, then what happens next? Anything else about you when you're like this? So when you're like this, you're like what? So you're stepping into that circle in your mind. What I'd like you to do is, when you're ready, you can step outside that circle again. Outside that circle in your mind. That's right. And I'd like you to think of a second empowering state that complements the first state really, really well. And when you're like this state, you're like what? And how is your breathing when you're in this state? And how is the weight? Where's the weight in your body when you're like this? Anything else about you when you're like this? So as you think about that, I'd like you to step into that circle once again and let it rise up around you. And when you're like this, the two states combined, you're like what? Anything else about you when you're like this? When you're like this, you're like what? And again, when you're ready, I'd like you to step out of that circle again in your mind. And again, I'd like to think of a third empowering state that complements the other two. And when you've found and when you've thought of that state, when you're like this, you're like what? And the third time, I'd like you to step into that circle again. And let that circle envelop you. And when you're like this, you're like what? Where does that come from? Anything else about that state? When you're like that, you're like what? That's right. So when you're ready, you can step outside that circle one more time. Think of a fourth and final state of empowerment that complements the other three. And when you found that and thought of that, when you're like that, you're like what? How's your breathing when you're like that? When you're like this? And for the final time, I'd like you to step into that circle again, allowing it to envelop you. And when you're like this, you're like what? What kind of you is you when you're like this? Whereabouts is you like this? You're like what? So when you're like these four states together, combined, you're like what? So when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to now and bring in that state of empowerment with you. Because when you're like this, you're like what? Hi guys.
All right.
Hi.
Hi.
That was
Hi, that was cool.
yeah,
Yeah, very
So
powerful.
very empowering.
good. And so, give us a few examples. What state would you call them? Four states together, Trina.
I was electric.
Electric.
Right. Yeah. Like it started off, I was in when you said the first circle, I actually pictured in a circus, a ring,
Cool.
and then I stepped into it and it came up around me, and then I went there from being fun to joyful to what was the third one? Fun, joyful, free, and electric. They were the four states that I went into. And then when I combined them all together, I was like this thunder and lightning storm without the thunder, just being extremely powerful.
The thunder and lightning storm without the thunder.
Yeah, I was more the lightning.
Lightning.
Yeah.
And what type of lightning is that?
Oh, one that had light up the sky, one that you couldn't miss. It was a lightning that made a statement that was being seen and heard.
Sheet
Oh,
lighting, does it?
Nice, nice.
Sheet
And how about
lighting.
yourself, Fintan?
Yeah, very good. I'd call that empowering, very empowering, you know.
Very empowering.
Yeah, like the first date is one, went to a particular time and place where everything just worked out perfectly for me, you know. And the second one was one where I felt I could just be myself and accepted by people and respected for being myself. Third one was one where I felt very confident. And it was a particular situation where, yeah, I felt very confident and the last one then was one where everything was just yeah, it was like actually went to a time when I years ago when I was on the Camino, we all were all walking together, you know, and everybody stopped for coffee, you know, and I just went to the toilet, and then I says, Joe, I'm gonna keep going. I just had this feeling to keep going, you know. It's like there's something was pulling me along, and I went, so I just kept going. I kept going, and I felt like I was in a rush, and for no reason because I wasn't in a rush anywhere, you know. But I just felt like I was in a rush, so I said I'd go with this, you know. And as I was going with it, I caught up with these two people, a fella and a girl. And as I was going past them, the fella says, Fintan. And I looked around, right? And it was a friend of mine from previously on the Camino, right? And what happened was I had left him behind somewhere. He had decided to stay the night. And I said, well, look, the chances are I won't see you again before the thing is over. So best of luck. And he says, no. He says, I'll catch up with you. So he was walking with this girl, thinking he was catching up with me, but somehow they had got ahead of me. And as soon as I met them, that feeling of being in a rush just disappeared, you know. So it was like the way, if you like, was just pulling me along, and that's what that. So I don't know how you describe that, but anyway, just been pushed and pulled nearly at the same time in the right direction. So that's what that last one was.
So you were in flow, in other words.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, yeah. If in fact, actually, I call that one the way always finds a way. I have a name for each of them, and the reason for that is because the Camino means the way, and I like Taoism, and Tao means the way. So actually, at that point, I had come to the conclusion that the Camino was like the way, you know, that it was just kind of the two were the same, which was quite interesting. And then the irony was that they were both called the way. So there you go. The way always finds a way.
Yeah.
It sure does.
Was that Mark?
Oh, no, so that's great. I'm glad it. So that's the process anyway, and then at
Yeah.
the end of that, we'd ask you to anchor them for people that's listening to anchor that stay. So I think you guys have an anchor stay for things at the moment, so it's not like that. You always put your positive anchors on.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. So I anchored that to see my hand, my ring finger, if you like, on the right.
Yeah.
That's where I anchor it.
And yourself, Katrina?
Me, I would actually flick my finger down like that
Very good.
on top of my thumb down on top of the top finger, click it as
Is
if
it?
I was pressing a button, as if I'm pressing a button.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So there's
Okay.
As if
four
I had
more.
a pen in
Yeah.
my hand and I was pressing a
Oh,
button, like
I like that.
that
Very
way.
good.
Yeah.
So there's four more for the hat on tonight.
There you are.
Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed that. So that's the circle of excellence with that I'd be using, and you'll find out more when we get the course together. We'll be doing stuff like that, examples like that of how we'd be putting the course together.
Super.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Loads of different tips and different strategies and
Exactly.
ways of working.
How to get the best out of life.
it.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I really hope everybody got some great information from the podcast tonight.
Hopefully
I
so.
hope they did.
Yeah,
I did
well,
anyway.
I certainly did.
Yeah,
See, we told you we'd learn something.
that's right, definitely. Yeah. And then we'd love a bit of feedback as well. If you could maybe email us at nlpupskillyourlife@hotmail.com. We'd love some feedback on how you're finding the podcast or anything we'd like to discuss in the future. Would be great, wouldn't it, guys?
Absolutely,
Absolutely,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
particularly anything people want us to cover. Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah.
And give us an idea of what you guys are enjoying. And like this podcast is listened to, I was checking the stats there recently, all over the world. It's North America, South America, Ireland, Britain, so many European countries, Scandinavian countries, even Africa, the Far East. We're all over the world. And so even if it's only one person in all of those countries listening to us, I'm absolutely delighted and I hope you're getting something from it. And please, please do let us know if you're enjoying it, if you want us to, what you'd like us to cover. So we'd be only too happy to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. We would indeed.
So we have a scale on lay, Vinton.
Yeah,
No
we
pressure.
do indeed. All right. So, I was just thinking back to there at the new year. I went for a hike with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, to a place called Slieve Éireann, which means the Iron Mountain. It's in County Leitrim, and a beautiful place. A place I hike quite often. And it's interesting because the particular walk we took that day was the Mass Rock. Now, just to explain what a Mass Rock is, back in the olden days, back in penal times, Irish people weren't allowed to practice their religion, so it was illegal. So if they were caught going to mass or whatever, or if there was a priest in the area and they were caught, they would be hanged. So what they used to do was they'd go up the mountains and they'd find a hidden outcrop, somewhere that people could go and they could say mass, but they couldn't be seen from below. And then when the British soldiers would be coming to find them, they could see them well and they could all scarper. So that's what a mass rock is. So this was used for hundreds of years by people. And anyway, it's a popular enough place to go hiking, but up until recently, it was a very boggy walk. And so what happened then last summer, they started a project to put a path up to the Mass Rock. And actually, last summer we put up the sign to say, give a bit of information about the walk and all that sort of stuff, and so that people could come and they knew where to start. And my first time to actually hike it was at the New Year, so I suppose it was appropriate time to hike a new walk at the New Year and to take a new path. So that's what we did. We walked up the path, and I have to say how much easier it was with the path in place to just follow that path up to the Mass Rock and to enjoy the scenery, enjoy the view, get our photograph taken as always, and to come back down. A nice, relaxing walk, much easier now than ever had been before. And we arrived back down at our starting point. But this time, we had a lot more energy left. We went home and had a bit of dinner. Altogether, a lovely day and some lovely people.
Very good, Vinton. Let that sink in, everybody. Nice.
It's a lovely story.
Yeah, very nice.
Scale. Lovely scale.
I'm full of them.
I know. I'm looking forward to hearing them all. Well, most of them.
Yeah. Brilliant. Mine's the question lay, isn't it? Question of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from my unconscious mind. um, so out of all the things we discussed on the podcast this evening, what one thing really resonated with you that will make this new year and this new week and this new month super for you and all your family going forward. So once again, what one thing that resonates with you will make a super year, super month, super week. Thank you.
Cheers, Mark. That's great. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Grant. Okay, so any final words, Katrina, before we go?
Have I any final words? Just to, for anyone that's listening or watching, to stay positive.
Yeah.
Remember, you're extremely powerful. You have everything you need inside you already, and you've already done everything already. So wherever you're at, remember that you have everything you need.
Brilliant. What a great message. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks very much, Mark. Thanks very much, Katrina.
Thanks very much, lads.
Yeah.
We'll catch
So,
you again soon.
yeah. So till next month, take good care of yourselves and slán go fóill agus go raibh maith agat.
Bye.
It's
Thanks a lot.
total bugay.
Night, night.
See you.
So.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.